Hello and welcome to the show today. I'm really glad you could join us. So, strategic vision. Hold on one second here. Let me end this recording because obviously, okay, I'm going to cut out a minute of this. That's my dog and my assistant just got here. So, okay, you ready to go now? All right, we're going to cut the first video. All right, hello and welcome to the show today. I'm really glad you could join us. So, strategic vision is like really important. You have to, in order to succeed, know exactly where you're going and kind of develop a path to get there. So to help you with this, I've brought in one of the foremost expert on this topic, Shelley Willingham. Now, Shelley is a successful business strategist and entrepreneur. She founded Vision and Passion International. I love that. That's such a cool name. In 2017 to focus on projects that simply set her soul on fire. Love that as well. Throughout her career, she has gained the experience and know-how to help others run profitable businesses. And by sharing her strategies for success and the lessons she's learned from her failures, she hopes to shorten the learning curve for entrepreneurs working hard to build their empires and leave a legacy. Today, Shelley shares her expertise by coaching entrepreneurs and small business owners, speaking at various nonprofits and business events, and facilitating sales training, marketing workshops, and leadership conferences as well. Shelley, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited you could be here. You know, we've never covered this before, and we really should because mission, values, vision, I mean, this is so important. So let me ask you this, mission and vision, is there a difference between the two?
Yeah. So when you think about your mission, is you're doing this for what? What is the reason you're doing this, and who are you doing it for? And when you think about your values, it's how are you going to do this, right? So what are going to be the core things that help you achieve that mission? Flexibility. Are you going to be flexible? Are you going to make sure it's integrity? I mean, what are those things that you are going to stand on to ensure that you are delivering upon your mission to your target audience?
Is it a big deal? Do you think it's really important to have a clear vision?
I think you can't do anything without it, Ty. You know, when you think about starting a business, or even if you're trying to restructure a business or bring a business back from almost failure, you have to think about where it is you want to end up. And if you don't have that kind of visual GPS, is what I like to call it, then you will be going in different directions that are not going to help you get to your goal. You might be wasting time and wasting money. So you've got to have a vision as to where you want to be. And your vision needs to, once you have that, you need to stretch that vision and think about how can I 10x this to make this even bigger? Because as you grow and as you move and do different things within your business, you'll notice that things will start to shift. But if you have that foundation of your mission and your values and your vision, then that's going to help you stay on track to make sure that you're getting to ultimately where you want to go, because it's so easy to get distracted by the next best shiny thing and get off track with where you started, where you want to ultimately end. And so that kind of acts as a redirect, or like I said, that GPS that helps keep you on track. Even if you might go in a different direction, you're still on that main path to that ultimate goal that you have.
You know, I love it. I always joke around. I've been blessed to have achieved success, and people that talk to me about that, I say, look, it's not that hard. First of all, you figure out exactly what you want, and second of all, you pursue it with relentless determination until you get it. Like that's as simple as life is. But I said the interesting thing is that most people don't figure out point one. They have no idea what they want or where they're going, and they're just kind of bumping along. Which, being a sailor and a pilot, that's weird to me because like we have to know where our destination. Like there's a lot of things you have to figure out. But is that common? Do a lot of people just bouncing around in business without a really clear vision of where they're headed?
I think so many people do, Ty, and it's that's one of the reasons I am what I am, right? A business strategist, because you have people that, and you've heard it, I'm sure before. People say, "Oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur," like it's just, let's just do it. It's just a notion, but there's so much to that, and so there are so many people that are great at doing what they do, but the business part of it is where they struggle. So they may be really good at putting together these widgets and painting the widgets and making the widget look great. But when it comes to putting a business around it or finding out, is this a business or really just an expensive hobby? If you don't have a background in strategic planning, or if you don't know strategy, you really need to find someone that can help you figure out how to make your business or your hobby, if you will, into a business, or tell you, hey, this is not really a viable business option, because you do have to have that plan and strategy around it. Just because you're good at what you do and you do something very well doesn't mean you'll be successful in business doing it.
You know, it's so true. And you're so right. I mean, so many people are good plumbers, but they suck at running a business, right? They're like just not good at that. And I think this is where I see imposter syndrome come into it a lot of play as well, because we have to have so many skill sets as entrepreneurs. And when we start, we don't have any of them. And
Right.
so we quickly get overwhelmed and think, oh my gosh, like I don't know what I'm doing. And we get this imposter syndrome. And then it's really because we haven't attained that skill set to get past it. Does that make sense? I mean, is that kind of part of the problem, is that we just don't have this knowledge and expertise, and you really have to have that willingness to go learn it in order to be able to succeed?
I think that's a great point. And for me, when I started probably my second business, but it was my most successful business, where I was working with Fortune 500 companies and helping them connect more with multicultural audiences. Merrill Lynch, GE, Allstate, those were all some of my clients. And so um, I was doing really well. And I think my ego came into play too, because when I think about that business and what happened, Ty, when the market kind of tanked in 2007, 2008, I lost everything that I owned. So I had a staff of 15 people working for me. Things were great. Market tanked. I tried to pay them with my retirement. I paid them through savings because they trusted me to come work for me, and there until there was nothing left. And I had to rebuild from nothing. And as I think back on that, if my ego, because things were going so well, and I'm thinking, oh, I must know what I'm doing. If I had thought about, you know what, maybe find a coach, a mentor, someone to help me with some of these problems and some of these decisions that I'm making that can ensure that I am doing the right thing and not just believing my own press, right? So I think it's funny for me. It's like, was imposter syndrome. There were times when I felt like, oh my God, I can't believe they're paying me this money to do this. But then when things were going great, oh, I think I got this covered. I don't really need help. So a mentor or a coach is a huge plus to anyone wanting to grow a business. There's nothing wrong with asking for help, and nothing wrong with having somebody that can help you redirect your thoughts and bounce things off of and give you another way of thinking about something, especially if they've done it before. And especially if they failed before and had to come back from something, you want to have that type of person that you can go to for advice.
You and I followed the same path. I built a mortgage company at the same time, 7 figures, thought I was just a genius. The whole thing collapsed, lost everything. And then I'm like, maybe I'm not a genius. Maybe I
Right.
need to go back and learn stuff. It's exactly the same path. And you're right. Warren Buffett has one of the best quotes ever, which is, it's good to learn from your mistakes. It's better to learn from other people's. And that's the same thing with your bio. You have your mistakes. You're teaching other people to help expedite that learning curve, which I love. So what is a good vision? I mean, is there such a thing as putting together a good vision versus a bad vision, a weak vision versus strong vision?
You know, you read the name of my company that I started, Vision and Passion International. And, when I was before losing everything, right? I was chasing money, Ty, if I'm quite honest. I was chasing money. I don't know I loved what I was doing, but there were some days when I think about, I was traveling so much. I remember getting my suitcase and packing on Sundays, and my son at the time was 3 years old, and he'd stand in the door, there'd be tears in his eyes. And I'm like, I don't want to leave, but I've got to do, I'm building this business, I'm building this legacy for my family. And so my core values kind of got clouded by this quest I was having for money. And so when I lost everything, forced me to really think about, okay, what do I want my life to look like next? And the first thing that I had to do is figure out what my core values were, what was important to me. And that's why the company is Vision and Passion. So I have to stay true to what it is that I believe in, what I want to do, because if not, if you're chasing money or just chasing things and status, you're going to get burned out pretty quickly. But if you're true to who you are and you stay focused on that, the money will come. It will find you. I promise you that. But having a vision for not just your business, but for your life, because you don't want your business to take over your life and then you're not able to enjoy it. So I think that vision just needs to encompass, not just what you want to do business wise, but also what's important to you from a personal standpoint and what those core values are that you stand on every day.
What else should be part of it? If we're looking at, a strategic vision statement, for example, what are the other components that should be in a vision statement?
So I think you want to think about where it is, where do you want to go? Where do you ultimately see your business? How is your business going to contribute to society or making something better or doing something different? How are you going to bring value to your customers, your partners, your vendors? Like, what does that look like for you? And again, that stretch goal, right? Write that vision statement, but make it 10x it, make it bigger. There's no end to what we can accomplish when we put our mind to it and put a plan behind it. So I would just encourage anyone who's working on that vision, just expand your vision from what you think is right in front of you, and just make it bigger and go for it.
I love that. What are some things to think about as you're sitting down to draw this vision? Because here's what I find, and it's funny because I look at my coach in the beginning of the business. I said, I'm not a visionary. What am I supposed to do? Everybody's looking at me and I don't know. I mean, I just, it was hard for me. I was a good implementer, but I wasn't good at the strategic thinking part. At least I didn't think I was. I had doubts. I think a lot of us are that same way. It really freaks us out, like the idea of doing that. So how can we begin this process to really effectively start drawing our vision?
So one of the things I do with my clients is ask them to imagine having a blank check. Because a lot of times what we'll get caught up on, Ty, is how can I afford that? Or I'm not going to be able to do that. But if you take away that, okay, you got a blank check, you can do whatever you want to. And that tends to feed into creativity. And when you're thinking along those terms and not thinking about how you're going to pay for it, but just you can do anything. What does that look like? And when people answer that question, that's so different from, okay, look at where you are now and where are you trying to go? Because that's where the tension and the, gosh, how am I going to get there? But just blank check, see it, visualize it every day. This is where you want to be, and then back into that, right? And if you need help with the strategic pieces of that, that's when you find that coach, that mentor, someone to help you with putting your vision, putting that plan into action. But I would always start with, don't limit yourself. If you had no limitations, what is this thing supposed to look like to you that would say that it's successful and successful for you in your life?
One of my mentors taught me that, and my coaches as well. And he has a great book on parenting kids. And this, one of the things he says is that, when a child says, I can't do that, he says, what would have to happen so you can do that? And I love that phrasing, that question. It's so brilliant. And I run my life by that, because if I just say, okay, what would have to happen for that? It's like your brain starts immediately just solving the problem. And it's like, what? It was just impossible. And I have a whole list of actionable things I could actually do to make that happen. It's kind of crazy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then being prepared to celebrate the small wins along the way, because oftentimes our visions are so big and we're constantly working toward that. But it can be exhausting if you're waiting to hit that one, that vision that you've written down that you see, and you're doing all these steps to get there and you're not celebrating those steps along the way. So everything that you do towards that, moving in that direction, is something to celebrate.
How do you do that? And I honestly will say that I am horrible at that. Like, people ask me all the time if in podcast interviews and stuff, if I'm proud of what I've done. And it's such a weird question. But I'm like, no, like, there's a lot we've got to do. Like, I'm so focused on the future that I don't even pay attention to what I've done in the past, let alone appreciate it. So please teach me how to do that.
Yes. So, okay, Ty, this is what I want you to do. Every day, I want you to take just 10 minutes and write down, like in a brag book for yourself. Just brag on yourself for 10 minutes. Celebrate small
that's so
things.
hard. For those of us that are humble, like, a brag book is a really hard thing to even think about.
I know it is difficult. You have to be intentional about it. But, as you know, this journey, it's not easy. It's not always easy. It can get tough. It can get tiring. But when you're celebrating along the way, you're giving yourself permission to say, okay, great. We've done a good thing. And the thing is, people like us, people that are our listeners, they're never going to get to that one place and say, I've arrived, because there's always going to be something different. Our minds are always working. We're always wanting to grow and do different things. So we can't wait. We have to celebrate every day that we're still in the game. We're still making it happen.
How do you find your true passion? I have a lot of entrepreneurs in helping them get capital. They come to us and say, what kind of business should I start? I'm like, that's the wrong question. You got to find something you're really passionate about. You probably had reasons that led you to where you are. The mortgage crisis and realizing business credit was there led me to where I am. But what if you don't have that aha moment, a major problem, pain point, then you go and take on the world to solve it? Like, a lot of us find our passion that way. Others don't. So how do you figure out what your passion is in business, and don't get into a business you don't really have passionate about and let it fail?
That's a great question. I like to tell my clients to think about, I have people that come to me, hey, I want to start a business just like you. What do I do? What would you do for free? What do you do? Think about those things that you're doing, those activities that you're doing, that when you're doing it, you're not even thinking about time. You're just into it. You're excited about it. That's what you love. Think about, can we make it a business? I don't know, but let's see. But what's something you would do for free? What do people come to you for help for that you would love helping them with? Starting there and figuring those things out. Or it could be, why don't you explore different things and kind of see if you've done this one thing all these years. I have a lot of corporate execs that say, okay, I'm ready to do something different, but I don't know what that looks like. So maybe, I've done accounting in my job. Maybe I should be an accountant. Do you like that? Well, no, not really. Okay. So think beyond, outside of what it is you've always done. Go back to when we were kids. And I don't know about you, Ty. I can remember laying in the grass and looking at the sky and just daydreaming. Give yourself some time to daydream. What are those dreams you might have put on the shelf because they weren't practical when you told your parents about it? Oh, you're not going to make money from that. What are those things? Find that and pursue that. And like I said earlier, you pursue your passion, the money will follow.
I love Elon Musk. I think about it. I think about it because like mine was space. Like I love space. I'm going to go to space. It's on my bucket list. It won't be my business. But
Right.
then it made me think about him. I'm like, that's so cool that he gets to like live these big companies and like fulfill like all of his like childhood dreams and the things
Yeah,
he always wanted to do.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And what about business strategies? Have you found some business strategies that are really effective in helping you develop a vision and execute a vision and running the business?
So I think it's, for me, it's unique for every client, but there's some fundamentals, right? I mean, you have to, we talked about mission, we talked about vision, and you think about revenue goals and creating a clear path to how you're going to do that. So whatever product or service it is that you want to offer, um, making sure that your target audience understands what the value is of that. And speaking of target audience, really knowing who those people are, right? You're not going to be all things to all people. And so a lot of business owners I work with, they get nervous about kind of really niching down with their target audience, thinking, well, I'm leaving money on the table. But no, you're not. You're going to hone in on a target. You're going to talk their language. You're going to understand their pain points and you're going to serve them. And you become an expert in that niche that will serve you well long term. So really figuring out who your target market is, figuring out what that offer looks like for them, and then figuring out how you can again elevate that value of that particular offer. So a lot of times clients want to think I need to get more customers, more customers, more customers to make more money, but that's not always the case. If you get more share of your current client base, meaning you're getting more business from your existing clients because you're continuing to add value to your product or service, that way you're not stretching yourself too thin, but you're also being able to increase your profit margin, increase your revenues by working with the clients that you do have, getting that loyalty thing going, and they will talk and tell other people how great you are in your industry. So it's not always all the time growing so big, but really thinking about what you could do with the clients and customers that you already have attracted, because it's cheaper to get more money from an existing client than it is to go find a new one. And just getting really granular about how you can serve those people to the best of your abilities and they become your best raving fans.
How do you prepare for obstacles, remove roadblocks? Because they're going to come. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs get caught by surprise and that puts them out of business in a lot of cases. So how do you prepare for that?
I think one of the best ways is to have that mentor or coach, because there are going to be roadblocks and blind spots that we have that we don't see. And so and I don't know about you, but when I think about what happened with me losing everything, I don't regret it because it's created this opportunity for me to help other people and, allowed me to walk away from something and walk into something that I really love. But if I had had someone to point out some things to me that were blind spots for me, things may have gone differently. So we can't always see what we don't know. So really having that mentor, that coach, or someone that can help you think about something differently, bring something to your attention is so extremely helpful to making sure that you're avoiding those types of things.
Hmm. What about proven strategies to kind of to implement? Because I see a lot of people, I'm not that way. I'm like an action taker. That's my strength. But how do you kind of get over that hump and actually go from vision to really start implementing?
Yeah. So I think the best thing to do is just to break it down into bite-sized pieces, right? It can get overwhelming when you're thinking about the thing as a whole, but what are the small steps you need to take each day, each week, each month to get to the next thing? So, one of the things that, a lot of people will come to me, oh, I need a website, I need a logo, I need this. Okay, but do you know what you're offering? Do you know who your target audience is? What's your value proposition? What makes you different in the marketplace? So making sure that you're doing that work up front. And then that mission, the value, the vision statement, that GPS that's going to kind of keep you grounded and keep you focused on the things that you do, that you started with doing, that you wanted to continue to do, is really breaking it down by even, you have your quarterly goals, monthly goals, weekly goals, even daily goals, but whatever is going to make sense for you, so that at the end of the day or the end of the week or whatever time length that you've set, that you can sit back and say, oh, I've achieved these things, I've done these things, I've accomplished these things. And that'll help you get to the next step.
If you've set up a vision, prepared a vision statement, how do you get your team? How do you get your employees on board?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. So, you have to be clear. You have to clearly communicate the vision, communicate it often, let your employees see how they fit into that. If as a leader, you have, and as an entrepreneur, as a creator, as a visionary, you have these wonderful ideas and things you want to do, and you're going to need a team to help you get there. You can definitely help get there faster with a team. But if your team can't see how they fit into that, what their role is with that, if you can't be away from your business and you're someone from your team answers the call and it's a question that they have, and they understand, well, this is how I fit into the overall vision, so I know how to answer or respond to this particular question or client. That's what you have to have, and you have to find out what motivates them, and again, how that integrates into the full vision, but making sure that your team sees themselves within the vision. It's not just something they're working for you.
What about mission? You talked about vision and mission, the difference at the beginning. How do you go about developing a mission for your company?
I think it's looking at, one of the things I'm really big on is just even with small businesses, right? But large companies have their corporate responsibility statements, but as a small organization, and for me, again, this kind of Shelley version 2.0, after coming back from nothing, it was really making sure that I was providing value, not just, growing this great business, but what type of value am I bringing to the community, and to the people that I serve. And so keeping that as a lot of companies will go in and they have their mission, their values, all those things posted everywhere. And you have to do that. Maybe that's a part of your email signature. Maybe it's something you start a meeting with, right? But it's making sure that everybody kind of stays on the same page. And again, as things come up and you want to venture into new things and new situations happen, does that really fit in with the mission of why we started this business? And if it doesn't, not something you pursue. But if it does, great, go for it, create a plan around it, make it happen, build it into your vision.
So where do you do this in the development? And I'm always trying to figure this part of it out because, I think we had the business for years before we sat down and wrote out a vision statement and a mission statement and values. And I think our core values were even developed by our employees, not developed by us, right? And so I always think about that. Like, do you do this in the beginning really and then check back every 6 months, year, or do you not even do this until you're in business for years? When do you really develop a mission? When do you develop a vision in the growth of the business?
I think that's an excellent point. I think, you start with it, maybe something kind of, you got to have something to work towards, right? So you may start with these things, but to your point, as you're growing, especially in startups and you bring in new employees and you're working with clients and things aren't always as we think, right? So a lot of times what we do, and when we're actually delivering the service or the product, and what the responses are back from our customers and clients really informs what that next service looks like, informs what that next product looks like, informs what our core values are. So maybe flexibility wasn't a core value until you started your business and realized, you know what? Wow, we really need to be flexible to respond to the needs of our clients and our customers, and they respond to that. So that needs to be a core value. So I think there's definitely, do it in the beginning, but understand that they're going to change and they're going to move as you move and as you evolve.
I love that. What about core values? You mentioned core values. We talked about that. We haven't talked about that. So what about core values? How do you go about developing core values for your business?
I think there's, if you're a solopreneur and you're doing it on your own, then maybe those core values are going to kind of mirror what your personal core values are. But when you start to bring on a team, I think it's a great team building. It's a workshop. It's a time to sit down and have everyone contribute to what they think would, the type of environment they want to work in, how we want to show up for our customers. So everybody kind of contributes to that. And then once you kind of brainstorm and figure out all the things, when you think about working for XYZ company, what comes to mind or what do you want to come to mind? Getting all the ideas out there and then, working together to kind of figure out, okay, here are the 5 or 6 things we want to make sure that our customers and clients know about us. And when they work with us, these are the core values that we stand on all the time and they can depend on.
I love that. What are some ideas of values? Is there a framework you should follow when developing the mission statement, values, and the vision? Is there some kind of framework or guide or something that people could kind of use that they can adhere to?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could probably Google that, and there are probably different, like, not Mad Libs. I'm kind of aging myself, but they give like a statement. They'll tell you insert this here, insert that there. I mean, that's definitely a way that you can start. But for core values, I mean, I think you start with personal. Like, what are those things, right? I keep mentioning flexibility, integrity, responsibility, social consciousness. whatever those things are. And you can just kind of Google a list of different values and then look at what makes the most sense for your organization. I think that's a good way to start. And then again, getting the feedback from the people that you work with, and even feedback from your clients and customers, and asking a question, hey, when you think about XYZ company, what comes to mind? And that can be a valuable exercise as well.
Shelley, you help coach a lot of people to massive levels of success. So what are some of the common aha moments that you have in these coaching sessions? Like, is there one, and not one theme, but are there themes that just come up where it's like, people are like, oh my gosh, like that is a huge thing that will help me move things forward?
You know what? At the end of the day, it's not always the big ideas, right? It's sometimes keeping things very simple. So a lot of people that that come to me for help and want to start a business or need help growing their business, sometimes we can get so bogged down in the business that we don't take the time to sit back and contemplate about the business. And that's where the big ideas come. It's from the contemplation. It's from taking some time off, giving your brain room to breathe and think and be creative. Because when you're so bogged down in the day to day, you don't have time to think about what's next. And so one of the things that I coach my clients on, and they're surprised that I give them this, is that brag book that we talked about earlier, gratitude every day, but also scheduling time for contemplation. You've got to take a step back and give yourself time to think. And that's when the new ideas, the innovation, and all those pieces will come to you that will help you even be more effective in your business. So you can't just grind all the time. Hustle, grind, that's a nice social media post, but at the end of the day, you just need to align with your values, your mission, and work your plan that way. Because just because you're working 20 hours a day does not mean you're going to be successful if there's no plan around it supporting it and no guide helping you get to the next step.
It's really valuable advice. And that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned from my mentors, is by taking time off, which I thought was a joke. Those of us that work are like we do work. But man, I mean, I'll take a vacation for a week and my team kind of hates it because I come back with like 180 item to-do list, right? And I'm like, why don't I take vacations all the time? And my team is like, yeah, no, thank you. Don't ever do that. But it's so true. And so now I take like a half a day Friday every single week. It's my thinking time. And I'm blown away at how much I come up with and how much it's unlocked my ability to be a visionary having that time. I really think it's one of the core essential pieces to make it all work.
I agree with you. And for those clients that say to me, well, gosh, if I take off a half a day, what am I missing? But if you take off a half a day and come up with a $500,000 idea, what have you gained? So you've got to take that time so you can have that room to think and process.
I have a beach I walk, and people come up to me and I'm so in the zone and they're like, dude, you've walked like 15 miles up and down this thing. I'm like, I don't even notice anybody else is here. Like, I'm just zoned in. Right. So this has been amazing stuff. And I don't know, I'm blown away that I never brought anybody on like you. Well, you are the only one like you to cover a topic like this, because it's so important, I think, getting businesses off the ground and helping them scale to massive levels of success. Where can everybody go to learn more from you?
You can go to my website, ShelleyWillingham.com, ShelleyWillingham, mouthful.com. DouglasAlexandra.com is also my digital marketing and brand activation firm, where you can see me there. LinkedIn, just my name. Instagram, just my name. Facebook, Clubhouse, find me everywhere, but would love to connect.
You said the other was Douglas Alexander?
Douglas Alexandra. So
Alexandra. Got it. Okay, cool.
Douglas,
glad I asked.
Middle name, and Alexandra is my daughter's middle name. So.
Oh, I love that. It's so pretty. Thanks for coming on with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
So everybody listen, this is probably the most important things in a business. If you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. Developing a strategic vision is really the key, but knowing what your company's mission is really essential as well. Because if you want your company, if you want your team members to get behind your vision, and they need to clearly understand what the mission is at hand to accomplish, and the core values help you bring a culture to your company of people where people want to be there. And when you build that kind of culture, then what happens is, customers come running. They want to be part of what you've built. But in order to do it, you've really got to get these things right. You got to get core values. You got to get vision. You got to get mission. And we just scratched the surface of what there is to learn. So go to Shelley's website. It's phenomenal. There's this really cool picture of her, which I love, and a lot of other really cool stuff on here that can help you get going down the path of doing this right. So I'm going to put the douglasalexander.com on our show resources page. but you want to go to Shelley's main site, which is ShelleyWillingham.com. That's SHELLEY Willingham, WILLINGHAM.com. Again, I'll put that on the show resources page. So make sure you check out Shelley's site to get on the right path with culture, with vision, with your mission as well. And it will really put you on the right path to succeed with developing a strategic vision. So make sure you check out ShelleyWillingham.com. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.